Hello everybody. This video is to replace a live Class Connect session for lesson 401. So if you are not ready to begin Unit 4, go ahead and finish Unit 3 before watching this video. If you are ready to begin Unit 4, that is awesome. Today we're just going to go over an intro to the unit. This unit focuses on literature that created an American mythology. You'll learn a little bit more in a second about what that means. And we will also go over some information about our first essay, which comes up in Unit 4 as well. So we are now into the early 1800s. So we are past the Declaration of Independence time period and well into the 1800s. So it's important to think about the fact that after the U.S. won its freedom, there was this generation of Americans who were really the first true Americans in the sense of their values. They were not British colonists at all. They grew up in a period where America was completely independent and free. Because they felt pride for their country, that it was, again, an independent nation, they wanted to write a lot about it and write about American values. They depicted their country, America, in songs, stories, poems, fiction, basically in any genre. So this is really the first unit so far in American Lit where we get fictional texts, which is really awesome. This happens in any nation. As a country matures and kind of develops its own identity as a country, what it stands for, what it values, it develops its own national mythology. Now, if you think about like Greek or Roman mythology, those are stories that kind of everybody knows, and they really help to define the identity of those cultures. American mythology is the same. It's a body of stories that reflect and celebrate the nation's ideals. So the texts in this unit celebrate the ideals of America. A national mythology typically comes up in any culture or country, as I mentioned, and it really helps to unite the people of that nation. America was still a very young nation, so it helped the people of that time period, the early 1800s, to see themselves as members of this unique culture, that America had its own culture. That was distinct and different, especially from the country that used to rule them, England. They wanted to be seen as their own country with their own culture, and the national mythology that was developed during this time period helped them to do that. So here are some examples of tall tales that you might be familiar with. These could be included in the American mythology. You can think about the story of George Washington and the cherry tree, Davy Crockett, Paul Bunyan, and his blue ox. All of these are kind of heroes or tall tales, children's stories, really, that you might have read as a child and be familiar with, and they all represent certain values of America. These are part of our national mythology. You will hopefully learn about additional American heroes as you go through this unit. Some things to note about the emerging mythologies of countries, not just America, but any country. Mythologies emerge naturally. It's not like people set out to write a story that will stand the test of time for, the next 500 years. Again, as nations mature and evolve and begin to develop their own identity and values, the literature tends to reflect the way the people of a nation view themselves and how they think of their nation fitting into the rest of the world. Many of the stories that form America's national mythology were recorded in the decades immediately following the American Revolution, when, again, America was a very new country. And so we were really just developing those values in our identity as a nation. And so that's where we get a lot of the stories that have stood the test of time and make up America's national mythology. During that time period, Americans again were very prideful. They were optimistic about the future of America. Instead of thinking of themselves as immigrants who didn't really fit in maybe in Europe or in America because they were colonists and still being ruled by a country in Europe. Instead, the citizens of this time period and the writers you will learn about in this unit viewed America as, again, a unique and independent nation. So their writings reflect that self-awareness that America was unique and had its own identity and values. So the voice in the writing is strong, unique, and very creative because they wanted to be seen specifically as different from Europe. The themes and the settings in this unit were distinctly American. Again, they wanted to see themselves as being everything that Europe was not, especially Washington Irving, who wrote the story Rip Van Winkle, which you'll read later on in this unit. Also in this unit, we have our first essay. It is an argumentative or persuasive essay. So you will be making a claim and supporting it through evidence. I just want you to note that there is an essay prompt mentioned a few times in the lessons about the story Rip Van Winkle. You are not answering that writing prompt. You will be working on a different writing prompt. It's impossible for me to take that Rip Van Winkle prompt out, but instead we're doing something a little bit more fun. I want you guys to have some choice in what you get to write about. So instead, you are going to choose an influential fictional character, not a historical figure. So it's important to note that this should be a character, someone who never lived, to research and analyze. And in your essay, you're basically going to argue that the character had an impact on American society or culture. That can be a positive impact or a negative impact. But basically, you're arguing that this character should be part of the American mythology, that they have had an impact on American society, just like the characters from Unit 4 have had, just like Davy Crockett has had, or Rip Van Winkle, which you'll read about later on in the unit. So this is the official essay topic from the prompt that is in lesson 401. It says, over the next couple of days, you will read and analyze Washington Irving's short story, Rip Van Winkle. Rip Van Winkle, according to the lessons in the course, is an icon in American mythology. In the book American Fiction, American Myth, author Philip Young wrote the name Rip Van Winkle, one of the oldest in our fiction, is as alive as ever, the subject of innumerable representations, among them some of our country's finest paintings. America's archetypal sleeper is almost equally well known abroad. So they're saying that Rip Van Winkle has had a significant impact on American society and literature. And again, that's despite the fact that he's a fictional character. He's not a real person. He's just a character. And it's been inspirational for lots of artists and lots of other writers throughout American history. Another book by Alan Lazar, Dan Carlin, and Jeremy Salter is called The 101 Most Influential People Who Never Lived. It was published in 2006, and it's a collection of essays where they identified the 101 most influential fictional characters from literature, myths, legends, television, movies, all the things. And they identify these characters which have shaped society. So between these two things, thinking about Rip Van Winkle and this book, The 101 Most Influential People Who Never Lived, it is clear that fictional characters have just as much of an impact on our society as do historical figures. American society and culture is shaped by these fictional characters as well as our towering historical figures. which we read more about in the past 2 units, in units 2 and 3, like the Puritans and our founding fathers. Now we're focusing on fictional texts, so we're thinking about characters who have had an impact even though they never lived. So your actual prompt is that you will choose one character who never lived. It can either be from the website that's listed here, or you can come up with your own. You're going to write a persuasive essay convincing the audience that that character has either positively or negatively influenced American society in some way, shape, or form. You will obviously need to support your argument with evidence and examples, bolstering your evidence with commentary, that's your own opinion, that explains exactly how and why this fictional character impacts American society. The requirements. Your essay should clearly and thoroughly explain how the character you've chosen has impacted American society. Your essay should give some background of the character, things that your reader might need to know, but it should focus mostly on making an argument proving that your character has impacted society. It should have an introduction, body, and conclusion. The guideline is about 500 words or 2 pages double-spaced, but that's not a requirement. You're not going to be graded on the fact that it's 500 words. It can be shorter or longer, but you need to make sure that the prompt is addressed thoroughly and that you're including enough evidence to support your argument. So again, 500 words is a guideline. You're not going to be graded or held to that. That's typically what students need in order to fully address the prompt and meet the requirements. Your essay has to have 2 sources to support your argument. Those can both be from the web. And those need to be cited in an MLA format, works cited page at the end of the essay. There's information on how to do that in the lessons, and we'll have a class over that as well. And your essay should recognize counterclaims by addressing skeptical audiences, the opposite side, and then refuting or rebutting their argument. So thinking about the parts of an argument we reviewed in Unit 3, you need to have all of those in your own essay. As for the timeline for the essay, today, which is Wednesday, September 11th, or whenever you are reading this, you just need to read through the essay prompt in Lesson 401 and start thinking about a character you might want to write about. You can use the website in the prompt for ideas, but again, you can also come up with your own. So today, I just want you to get your thinking started and make sure that you understand the prompt. On Friday, you will submit your character choice for approval from me in the 403 quiz. If I approve your character, or when I approve your character, you will receive 5 points for submitting that in the quiz. Remember, that needs to be a fictional character, so not a historical figure, not a real person. On Monday, September 16th, you will find your 2 sources and then start to organize your essay. You can do that in any form. There is an outline in the course, but this is just a pre-write, maybe jot down your evidence. However you want to pre-write, that is what Monday is for. On Wednesday, there is an optional assignment Dropbox. You can submit a draft of your essay anytime really before the essay is due, although it's in the lesson on September 17th. If you submit your essay, you will get 20 points completion. It needs to be a good draft. You can't submit a sentence of your essay and get 20 points completion. But if you have something that you want me to look over, I will annotate it and give you feedback on how you would score if you submitted that as your final essay, so that you can make changes and revisions to it before you actually submit. And again, you'll get 20 points completion for submitting that, and then I'll get the feedback to you when I can. On Friday, September 20th, there's a day dedicated for you to proofread, revise, do whatever you need to do, finish up your essay, write your conclusion, so that your essay is ready to submit on Monday, September 23rd. So again, Monday, September 23rd, that is the essay due date. Your essay needs to be submitted on that date with an MLA Works Cited page. The essay itself is worth 60 points in the gradebook, and it will be graded using the rubric in the course. So if you look here, this is 85 possible points that you can receive for completing all of these steps of the essay writing process. And there will be class connects and resources for you throughout this unit to help you write this essay to the best of your ability and submit the best essay possible. So what do you need to do today? One, you should download the Unit 4 reading journal if you have not already, which you can find in Lesson 401. We do still have a reading journal for this unit, but there are only 3 texts that we're reading. Don't forget to save the reading journal to your computer, somewhere safe where you can go back and reference it throughout the unit. Question 1 on the reading journal references this video or the lessons for Unit 401. Instead of having a quiz today over the introduction to the unit, that is your task to answer question 1 on the reading journal. And then also, you should again begin thinking about which character you want to write about for this essay. So you can explore the 100 most influential people who never lived website at 101, the number 101, influential.com. And that will give you the list of the characters that they picked. So you can choose one of those, or you can pick someone on your own, someone that you think is influential. If you have questions about any of this from today, guys, shoot me an email or a Skype message, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.